it's nice to still have Roma on Hey Roma, since it is 1:11 a.m. where Mr. Roma is in Germany, where he
Right
is
from Germany, baby.
where he is in demand to go to a wrestling convention and sign autographs tomorrow. Travel across the world to meet his fans. This evening,
very happy to do so.
This evening, sitting in live for Paul Roma, even though Hey Roma is here in Germany, is a person who has 40 years or so in the wrestling business. He also has 25 years behind the walls as a corrections officer, and we're going to see what made him tick to want to serve. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Serve. He's still serving our community by being in there with convicted criminals, keeping us safe so they don't escape, and keeping them in order, and believe it or not, having a hand in rehabilitating people. We have with us, you can catch him on YouTube under the Guardian of Chaos. He is Big Daddy. I've known Big Daddy since 1984, just like I've known Roma since 1984. My friends in my life are not fly-by-night friends. Needless to say, these are my brothers, and I'm honored to have you on here tonight, Big Daddy.
Mario, it's great to be here on Hey Roma! You're all the way over in Germany. Can you hear me? Roma Nation.
Hey, listen, you're coming in loud and clear, Big Daddy. Glad to have you on the show.
Listen, Roma Nation, me and see these maniacs, you better be here live. And I'll say that to say this because I tell it like it is. This is the fastest, hottest, quickly rising, growing podcast on YouTube. And let me simmer down. I had 2 cups of coffee. I just want to say to all the fans out there of Hey Roma, thank you so much for having me on here, Mario. It's nice to be back. Paul, I hope you're doing okay over in Germany. Thank you for letting me sit in tonight. I consider this an honor and a privilege. The boys are back together, so I'm excited to be here for the ride, Mario. I really appreciate it.
Well,
I appreciate it.
We love you here, Big Daddy. And the first thing off my chest, off my sizzling chest, off my red face, off my, I'm sure, elevated blood pressure is Chris Jericho. Of course, and you know what? The situation is probably taken care of because through Holiday, through lawyers, specifically, I left a message for AEW's attorney. He got a hold of an attorney that handles the names and trademarking for the boys, in which he called directly Chris Jericho's lawyer personally and said, no, because I waited for the podcast to say this. I did not put this on social media. So here it is. Here is the law in the United States of America when it comes to a trademark. It is not who trademarks it first. It's who uses it first. Now they pointed out in other countries, it's whoever trademarks it first has it. Not here. Here it's whoever uses it first. So needless to say, Holiday has been using this. Richard Holiday has been using this since 2019. I went on Pro Wrestling Tees and popped up his T-shirts that said "Rarefied Air." You're breathing rarefied air. He popped on Twitter himself a 4-second video of him sitting on the stairs a few years ago saying, "You're breathing rarefied air." Period. That's all it said. And you know, I just find it diabolical. And you know what? If Chris Jericho said, "Oops, sorry, I didn't know," but he did know, and I'm going to tell you why he knew. Because the day after he uttered those words on that I guess, for the lack of a better word, promo, that when you're in the presence of Chris Jericho, you're breathing rarefied air of Chris Jericho. The very next day on social media is Chris Jericho files the trademark rarefied air of Jericho, learning tree and educator. So he must know he thought he was racing to the stables by posting somebody posting that going, hey look, you're too late. He already filed. We know it's yours, but you know what? He filed the paperwork, so haha. It's not haha. You know, somebody should have told him.
Actually, you know what, Mario? It really is ha, but it's on him.
On him.
Right?
You know.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. You try to snake something out from somebody else. You didn't come up with it, and yet you're trying to, get a copyright on it or a trademark on it so that you can claim it as yours. And that's just, it's just not how it works. Going back to, the days when they were in the little riverbeds trying to find gold, and then they stake their claim, and somebody's come right along and, get to the place first and say, well, that's mine. It doesn't work that way. And Holiday's been spewing that for a long time, a real long time, and it's only just and right, what the law is, and how Jericho can't come in and take it from him.
No, it kills me because on social media, everybody's, everybody went to law school, and I had to actually state on Facebook. Well, thankfully, I went to law school and I know how to research. And that's when I found out the law. And you know what makes me even angrier? I mean, this could not be here. I mean, he had a tremendous battle with cancer. He brought himself back 1,000%, mind, body, and soul, and he's forging ahead. And you know what, Holiday, God bless him, because it comes from you and I, Roma. It comes from you and mostly you, Roma, I will say. So Holiday, okay, with his old school. Do you know why, Big Daddy? Because old school works. And you know who proves that old school works? Roma. When he writes the storylines for PAPW, they're excellent storylines and they're over like crazy. And you know what? They're old school. So what's Holiday turn around and do? He says, hey, Mario, why don't they just bring me in? Jericho could be cutting a promo that he's breathing rarefied air. My music could hit, come down the aisle halfway, look, have the commentators go, who is this? And then the other guy say, well, that's the most marketable man in wrestling. That's Richard Holiday. He is the originator of breathing rarefied air, and he's quite upset. That's why he's here. And then have this whole storyline culminate after a year, God willing, in a ladder match with the trademark piece of paper hanging from the rafter, and whoever grabs it first gets the trademark. You know what I mean? So that was that was Holiday's idea, and that's a great idea. But you know what? The powers that be, they know better than us. They know better than us. They know the wrestling business. They know better than us. They know better than Chief Jay Strongbow. They know better than Pat Patterson, regardless of his lack of moral conduct. They know better than Vince McMahon. Well, despite his lack of moral conduct, we're talking. You know what was really funny, Roma? It was not funny. You know what was incredible? How people make their own rules, and I don't necessarily disagree with them, and I might get heat for that. But Pete Rose not in the Hall of Fame. Well, you know what? They will not take O.J. Simpson out of the NFL Hall of Fame because the NFL stated that people are inducted in the Hall of Fame strictly on their on-field performance and not their conduct outside of the game. Okay, so they refuse to take OJ, which, you know what, has a lot of plus and minuses. But, and if they applied that to baseball, Pete Rose would be in the Hall of Fame. So would Mark McGwire. So would Barry Bonds. So would Alex Rodriguez. You know what I mean? So that's kind of incredible that the NFL, Big Daddy, what do you think of that making such a bold statement like that?
Well, I want to address the issues that you and Paul have thrown out there. First off, you're talking about Holiday, you're talking about rarefied air, you're talking about Chris Jericho. Number one, I say this all the time, and I'll say it to the fans right here live on Hey Roma. Richard Holiday is Roma trained and Mancini brained. You want to talk about old school, you want to go somewhere to find out about emotional investment, storytelling, ring psychology. You're looking at two guys right now, and Mario Mancini and Paul Roma, that's their trademark. That's what they do. They worked under the guidance of the WWF and WCW. Get yourselves to a training, credible facility, not only for pro wrestling and what you two do, but mentoring young men and women in life, how to have respect. And in order to get respect, you have to start with respecting yourself. Once you do that, you open other people's minds to respecting you. And that's what Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling and what you and Roma do. And as far as Holiday, we just had a show at the JCC where Mr. Holiday came back from battling leukemia. It was on Jim Cornette's podcast.
Well,
it was on Sports Illustrated.
Just let
it
me
was
interrupt
on
you for
Busted
a
Open
minute.
Radio. Don't cut me off.
No, just for a minute. I got to ask you a question.
Mancini,
What was the name of the show?
the name of the show, and it's out on YouTube, and this is to my point. This is like the old Mario Chaos. I apologize, Roma. I know you're over in Germany. The show was called Rarefied Air. Hello?
Yeah.
McFly? Is anybody home? Bueller?
Yeah. Hey,
Anyone?
to coin a phrase, I like it. Let's go with it.
The Ultimate Warrior story.
But it's the truth, Paul, about what you guys done, and Jericho, and then I'll jump back onto your subject of what you're talking about, OJ and Pete Rose and gambling and betting and Otani and all that stuff. Paul, you make valid sense in everything that you're saying. Rarefied air. Jericho has already been Y2J, Les Champions, Lionheart, the Painmaker, the Wizard, the Ocho. How much more does this guy need that Holiday, who's already an established star, MLW, IWA heavyweight champion, where he took it from Savio Vega? And you talk about storylines and what Roma said. Tony Khan, answer the phone when Paul Roma calls you. Are you aware, and you fans aware out there, of the dynasty? It was only 3 or 4 years ago where Richard Holiday, MJF, and Hammerstone were the talk of the pro wrestling world and MLW and the dynasty. And you know who was the solid one? Because MJF, as talented as he is, and he's the future of the business, and I don't know if Holiday wants me to bring this up or not. I'm sorry, Holiday, if you're watching, but these are the facts. And I present the facts when I'm on Hey Roma.
Hey, we always talk facts on Roma. Hey, Roma.
Correct, Roma. MJF was more or less a great worker, but he was more or less the guy that did the vignettes and a little comedy. Hammerstone was the beast who looked incredible and didn't say much. You know who was the straw that stirred the drink? Richard Holiday.
Indeed.
Breathe it in.
But Big Daddy, that's exactly how one of the greatest minds in this business and the foremost historian. I'm talking about Roma again. One of the greatest minds in professional wrestling, and we'll get to him a little later because I got a little piece on him. One of the greatest minds in professional wrestling and one of the greatest historians all the way back to Carl Gotch and before that, would be Jim Cornette. And Cornette himself went over the dynasty, and he went over how over it was, and that it was good enough to be in AEW or the WWE. So
not to cut you off, because this is what we used to do.
Right.
Dave LaGreca and Busted Open Radio, which has been on for 13, 15 years on Sirius XM, which is the mothership for pro wrestling in this industry right now, they also brought up the dynasty and what they did in MLW with Holiday, MJF, and Hammerstone. And then because of Holiday's health issues, the man was mentioned as inspirational wrestler of the year on Sports Illustrated. They did an article on him, and Pro Wrestling Illustrated as well. So it's not like Mr. Holiday isn't already a talent and a star to where maybe Tony Khan and AEW and Jericho wouldn't know about it, and Max works there right now. I'm just, this is rumor, speculation, innuendo, and I'm going to bounce off that for a second and get back to what you said, Mario. Gambling, Pete Rose, O.J. Simpson, Chris Benoit. Let's go by what they did on the field or in the ring, as opposed to college gambling is pushed among college kids right now. Everybody's brother, mother, uncle, sister, Otani's agent, whether he was implicated or not, betting on baseball. We push it around the country. Everybody has sponsors. They're in bed with it. And you want to still persecute Pete Rose?
Right.
To your point. And then O.J. Simpson, talk about hypocritical. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. But we're in 2024, Mario and Paul. So let me zip it to address the things that you would ask me. I apologize. It's like the old days.
It's all good. Listen, it's all good. It's always good having another celebrity on, someone with a great mind that thinks like you and, can articulate the way that you do. Again, this is something that needs to be addressed. This is something that, they want to work around. They don't want to address it. They keep beating around the bush about it. And you hit the nail on the head. What's good for one should have been good for the other. And that's not the case. And it's sad that I want to bring something up. It's been bothering me for a little bit. It has to do with sports, since we're on the sport thing. It's called the Michigan in hockey. And for people that don't know what the Michigan is, it's when a player picks up the puck on the end of his stick and he throws it into the goal.
Wake up, Mancini.
I have a problem with that. A lot of people have a problem with it, and it's not being addressed. The problem is this. We're saying if you pick it.
Well, Roman, let me clarify one thing first. Not being an avid hockey fan, when you say they have the puck and they're working the puck and somehow they get the puck on their stick.
Well, there isn't somehow. You can actually, and they all do it. If you watch the when a play is blown dead, one of the players will flip the puck onto his stick and hand the stick up with the puck on it to the referee.
All right, answer me this: when they do that in the goal, are they doing it ankle level, waist level, shoulder level?
Well, it's all different, but for the most part, it's about under the shoulder.
So you're trying to tell me they're whipping a puck on their stick at a goalie at a baseball bat swing?
Yes,
that's
for the most part.
Well, in Roma, I know you're an avid hockey fan. Yeah. It's a flick of the wrist.
It's a that's
crazy.
Curvature
of the stick in the NHL.
Right. Well, here's the thing. So they look at it as it's not picking it up with your hand and throwing it because you're gripping it around your fingers when you use your hand. So I understand that. And when you have it on the end of your stick, if a player is to run into you, then obviously it's going to fall off. However, when they skate behind the goal and they pop it onto their stick and they just flick it into the net, I still feel, as do a lot of others feel, that it's illegal because other than gripping it with your fingers, you're tossing it into the net.
Do we have any avid hockey fans on there listening to this, commenting on it all? Okay.
Oh, we should.
I'm a New York Rangers fan, Roma. A 45-year New York Rangers, and the playoffs start in next week? So I'm looking forward to the NHL. Roma, seeing that Mario is not a huge hockey fan, and I know that you can attest to this. Is there anything in any sport more exciting and more adrenaline filled than the NHL playoffs?
I don't think there is. I used to think that it was football.
Cameraman, keep it in focus.
Yeah, no, it is. Wow. I mean, wow.
I was a big fan of the 1981.
Yeah. I'm a big Boston Bruins fan, so we're gonna have at it, you and me, Big Daddy.
Roman, listen to this.
I'm bringing in Roman Nation, man. I'm bringing them in, so don't come alone. I'm going to have an entire team with me, an army with me.
Mario just mentioned the 1980-81 New Haven Nighthawks.
Listen,
I go back to the Blades in
Listen,
the old New Haven Arena.
I used to go all the time. You know why? Because 75% of the New Haven Nighthawks in 1980 and 81 was the Olympic hockey team.
Your thoughts on the New Haven Nighthawks?
Doug
Paul.
Doug Sotart used to be my favorite goalie.
Doug Sotart.
So I used to frequent those games, and that's the last time I really was a hockey fan. So I haven't been involved in hockey in a very long time. So.
Well, every other time you were in the Coliseum, you were stepping into the ring, Mancini.
Thank the Lord above.
Paul, hey Roma, I should say, since you're all the way over there in Germany, it's almost 1:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the local legendary area, the old New Haven Coliseum, in the shadows of Titan Towers, here in the greater New England tri-state Northeast area. Your thoughts on the New Haven Arena and Coliseum and the New Haven Nighthawks?
You know what? I think it's great, but at the same time, I don't feel that the support's going to be there. And you always need support, right?
Well, look what happened with the Hartford Whalers, who are now down in Carolina. Connecticut can't seem to support anything except the unbelievable UConn men and women, and the men just went back to back. I know we're bouncing around and going off subject here, but UConn men back to back, and what Gino Auriemma continues to do is unbelievable. So that's the only thing we seem to support here is college basketball, men and women.
Well, that's kind of amazing, Big Daddy, with the revenue they're generating from marijuana.
How did we get onto that, Roma?
Well, look, I mean, again, we don't have the fan base in Connecticut. It's never been there. It's not going to start to happen. They're trying to start something really good, but I think it's a waste of time and money and people's efforts. I really do believe that.
Well, I have to agree with you on that, Paul. Just like we have Major League Soccer here in a huge Rensselaer field up in East Hartford. Talk about a waste of taxpayer money. And then when you bring the UConn football team in there, they're not drawing anything, and that place holds thousands of people. So if we want to get on to what Connecticut really supports, that's taxes and raising your taxes. And no wonder why no companies or sports teams want to stay here in the former Constitution state, which now they want to call the Nutmeg State. If everyone out there is doing their due diligence, and I know you are a Roman nation.
Yeah, we stay on top of everything. Now that we're speaking about some political, so to speak, this Jennifer Luke name sound familiar to anybody? Called Trump Hitler.
Really?
Yeah, and I understand that she's had mental health issues, but they let her spew her garbage, out on national TV, which because it's Trump, that's why they allow her to do it.
Must have been CNN.
Yeah, I mean, she's a real nutbag.
MSNBC.
Well, speaking of nutbags in politics, and since you brought that up, Paul, look at one of our representatives in government. There's more than one, whether it be Talib or Omar or whatever, chanting "Death to America." How does this happen in this country? And then today on the floor in Washington D.C., FISA, now you can unknowingly, without the public's consent, you can be spied on by the government and different agencies, and they're all exempt from it, but we, the people, are not exempt. That just came down, breaking news today, to bring on Hey Roma, that now they can illegally just start spying on you. No warrant, no nothing. And it was tied 214, I think, to 214, and Johnson, the Speaker of the House, Mario, was the deciding and breaking vote, and he voted against it. In other words, let the government spy on you and other agencies without fair warning, without a warrant, just being able to take away your constitutional rights. How about that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Maybe it's time, for that revolution. Maybe it's time that we the people march on Washington, start kicking the shit out of some of these congressmen and these senators, because they work for us, but I think they fail to remember that they do work for us. It's bad enough that they steal millions of dollars, and this is day in and day out. We have the president of the United States. His son is getting filthy rich as he is, and all of his family is, and they just sit in denial. But that's left to be okay.
Well, we're gonna get our wish, Roma, because Big Daddy sent me a trailer this week, and they are definitely trying to get in everybody's heads, whether it's a subliminal message or not, where there's a movie coming out about civil war.
Well, Paul, I'm going to say that to say this because you know I tell it like it is, and I'm going to do a little bit of research. The movie that's coming out is called The Civil War. All you have to do is watch any streaming service or mainstream TV right now, and you will see the movies that Hollywood is pumping out. Pumping out movies about fear, about natural disasters, about civil wars, about racial division, because that's what they want in this country. If we all, as Americans, and not the ones invading our southern border, who people are calling migrants, it's illegal immigration. It's that simple.
It's illegal aliens. Whether they want to hear it or not.
They're not migrants, the way our families came over here and the hardworking people that still try to come over here. And the movie that Mario's referencing is called Civil War, where they're, and it's Americans against Americans, which is what they want. And they have it broken down into a map. The upper part, the Pacific Northwest and Midwest of the country, is called the New People's Army. The California area is called the Western Forces. Texas is also a part of the Western Forces. The whole Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Deep South, Mid-South area, and Mid-Atlantic is called the Florida Alliance. And then the rest of the Northeast through the Midwest out to maybe Las Vegas and Colorado on this map is called the Loyalist States. That's what they're pushing. And if people don't think that there's nothing but subliminal messaging going on here every day, it's like the people who refuse to look up in the sky and realize they're playing tic-tac-toe with chemtrails in every state across this country and across the world. The facts don't lie. I'm going to say, Mario, that the facts don't always tell the truth, but they don't lie, if that makes sense, Roma.
You may always make sense to me, Big Daddy. Always. That's why we have you on the show.
You know, I want to expand on fear here. So I want to roll into my Tucker Carlson segment.
Okay.
Because I love Tucker, and I listen to him every morning. Roma, he had, now listen, the people need to know, again, I don't lie. I tell the truth about myself. I've done it for years on every podcast, every interview. So I'm going to tell you now.
Almost to a fault.
I'm going to tell you now that I'm vaccinated with a booster. I was guilted into it by too many people telling me I was selfish. I have 3 daughters. How can I do that? I'm a father. How can you not get vaccinated? I felt really bad about it. I felt like I was being selfish, and I went and got vaccinated and boosted.
Well,
so now,
right?
So now, Tucker Carlson has on here, it's a rough name now, Engo Rademacher. Engo Rademacher.
A.K.A. Jax from General Hospital, who's Carly's ex-husband. Jax, Sonny's arch rival on General Hospital. How do I know? I've been a GH fan for 40 years. Go ahead, Engo Rademacher.
Engo Rademacher was on General Hospital for 25 years, and he got let go because he refused to get vaxxed.
Right. Well, again, we had a lot of nurses getting let go. They pushed their narrative on everybody. Is what they did. We had no rights. We had no choice. You got to get it done. The company that I worked for tried to tell me that I had to get vaccinated. I wouldn't do it. I absolutely wouldn't do it.
Paul,
my daughter didn't get vaccinated. They forced my wife to because she's a nurse.
I was just going to speak to that, Roma.
Don't you hear things about you can't use the people's blood that have been vaccinated? I've heard those rumors. Are they true? I don't know.
Well, there's a lot that has come out that has been scientifically proven. For everyone who's pro-vax, anti-vax, that's on you. That's on me. That's not on me. Don't force your opinions and your ways on me. But I feel your pain, Paul and Mario. My wife and my daughter, who are both in the health profession, my daughter's an RN, my wife works for the big conglomerate, they were forced into the vax. And we see now with, like you said, Paul, whether it be with blood clots or whether it be with transfusions or whether it be with myocarditis. Have you ever seen so many young, healthy athletes in our lifetime? We're all 60 plus here. The old man brand, the over 50 demo god. Have you ever seen anything like these young athletes, Mr. Roma, if you will, that are going through what they're going through today in 2024?
No, it's not coincidence, right? It's not coincidence.
No,
It's just you.
It's not. It's fear. It's. Well, listen.
They forced you. They strong armed most people.
What?
No, and I'm not going to deal with your bullshit. They said no.
Right.
I'm not going to put that in my body because you're forcing me to.
Right.
I should have a decision to make on my own.
Constitutionally, you have the right to make that decision. So, when I tell you,
and they right for you,
when
that's what they did.
Right. So what I'm telling you, that you're in the hospital and your arm is hanging off, and they come in. You were knocked out when you went to the hospital. Now you're awake. Okay.
Right.
Because there is a difference constitutionally. So your arm is hanging off and you're awake, and they come in and go, "We need to reattach your arm," and you go, "I'm sorry. My ape god will heal this for me, and I'm against any kind of medical treatment whatsoever because my ape god Sage, my god Sage, who's an orangutan, is gonna reattach my arm." They can't touch you because you're practicing your religion. They can't touch you. Yet, if somebody says, "I don't want to get vaxxed, I refuse that medical treatment," they lose their jobs. They're kicked out of the military. You know, Jim Brewer, an awesome comedian, by the way.
Funny guy.
By the way, he'll be in New Haven on April 25th.
Are you going?
I want to. At
Wow.
the Yale auditorium there, Jim Brewer. So Jim Brewer took a fit on his management because his management took it upon themselves to say, in order to buy a ticket to Jim Brewer's concert, you have to show a vax card.
I saw that.
And Brewer went nuts. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" Because Brewer hasn't been vaxxed. You know, and he's like, "You can't do that. I'm not doing that to my fans." I mean, he took a fit. Good for him. So they don't have that policy anymore. In order to go to his concert, you have to get vaxxed. It's like they're forcing you. And if you look back 4 years ago at the height of COVID, and 4 years ago at this time was the high point of COVID. April.
We were only about 2 or 3 weeks because
Yeah.
if you remember correctly, and I know that you do, because you have the memory of an elephant like Mike Francesa.
Yeah.
At least that's what he says. But
Yeah.
you can't remember the 99 Slam Jam, can you?
No, I
You
can't.
remember that.
I can't.
I'm getting off subject here. March 2020
Yeah.
is when we had Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling presented the Hercules Hernandez Memorial Tournament Unchained. That was a week before, or 2 weeks before the shutdown. And here we are in April, we'll say April 11th?
Well, right. So it was...
April 12th. April 12th.
Yeah, things were haywire April of 2020. Absolutely haywire. My mother passed away in April of 2020. And there was no wake, there was no funeral. For 91 years of her life, she got 25 minutes. That's what she got for her service, 25 minutes. So it was really bad. But the point Tucker was trying to say is listen, it was very easy back then to scare everyone. Okay, everybody was scared, and they used it. They used it like a cool, and they're still trying to continue to do this today. It's just like, calling Donald Trump Hitler. Biden saying if Trump gets elected, there'll be total chaos and anarchy and war in the United States. Um,
That's different tactics.
yeah, yeah. But listen, the main tactic, social media, the media on TV, the news stations, government, their new gimmick, their new angle, their new storyline is fear.
Can I say something for a quick second, Paul and Mario?
You go, Big Daddy.
Hey, Salvatore M, look right at me. Kiss my ass. How about that? What do you got? The brain of a dehydrated BB? Kick rocks. How about that? A lot of people are keyboard warriors and they have a lot to say. Come down and check me out and say it to me. And I love Mike Francesa, but thank you anyway.
Are you getting the questions that we're supposed to be getting?
It was slid to me. I don't know, some geek, nerd, dweeb, neckbeard, mouth breather. Who knows the last time he probably had a girl go touch some grass? How about go stack some marbles on the freeway? How about that, Salvatore?
A pencil neck geek.
A pencil neck geek. Go stack marbles on the freeway. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Listen, this is, and then I want Roma to take the floor. This is what I'm going to say to end my Tucker Carlson segment. I'll always laugh. No, I do. I love it. He's got 3 daughters, just like I do.
Tucker Carlson, I'm a big fan.
Listen, when it was the State of the Union address, he goes, "Well, they shot up Joe Biden with adrenaline and pushed him out there."
But he's not far off.
Pushed him out on the stage. So I believe that he's got to rehearse a speech like 150 times. They have to shoot him with adrenaline, and then they stand on the side of the stage going, "Please, please." And then in the middle of his speech, if he goes, "I'll have sprinkles on that ice cream cone," they go, "He didn't make it." I believe, this is what I believe. I believe Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are running this country, because Hillary Clinton was quoted recently stating that she talks to the White House every day.
Well, there's no two ways about it, Paul, Mario. Obama is obviously out there campaigning for him. There's no two ways about it that this man, his wife, which you mark my words, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat crow. Don't be surprised at the conventions coming up that's going to happen or before this election, whether we don't have an election, and I don't have a tinfoil hat on, or somebody else throws their hat into
Well,
it.
there's no more Constitution. They're obliterating that, so there might not be an election.
So anything can happen. And if you look at certain photos and videos, Paul, you see Obama sometimes in the background, just happens to be making visits to foreign countries and overseas. Now, I get it's not unheard of for former dignitaries and presidents to meet with other political leaders. But what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yes. Oh, right. What are you talking about to these people? You're not an elected official anymore. You're not a senator, a governor, a mayor. You're not nothing. It's just a bunch of horse shit. They're putting the fear factor into everybody, and they're doing it with Trump. I mean, leave the guy be.
Guys, in our days, back in the 70s and 80s, when a president was out of office, you saw him on a sailboat on the golf course. You know what I mean?
Right.
They retired. They didn't stick their nose in. Roma's right.
And all you have to do is look at the foreign policy of the last 3 administrations. You can go from Obama to Trump to Biden, and I'll just take the biggest thing that's happening in this country right now, which is the invasion of the southern border. There's in 4 years, less than 4 years, there's coming up on almost 10 million illegals that we know of, not to mention gotaways. There's more sleeper cells, not thousands, hundreds of thousands in this country. We're not going to get attacked from overseas or from a foreign country. It's going to be right here because they're in our highest offices, from government to businesses to big pharma to big tech, and that's what's happening. You go through the administrations. Obama let in over 6 million illegals. Trump was around 2 or 3. Now, I'm not a fan of any politician right now. And Biden in less than 4 years, 10 million. Do the math, and you can figure out just on that one crisis, not to mention, and I'm going to quote Jesse Ventura on here, Paul, because I know you and Mario had a chance to be around Jesse Ventura. The mind.
Yeah, like
in 2011, it might have been 2008, so I might be a year or two off when Jesse was interviewed by the New York Times or one of the New York magazines. At that point, when he was no longer the Minnesota governor, 2008, the big housing crash, the whole 9 yards, we were $9 trillion in debt. 2024? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone?
Ring it out.
$34 trillion. So from 2008, 2010, thereabouts, I might be a year or two off, we went from a $9 trillion deficit to $34 trillion and rising by the moment as we're getting hit with an 8% inflation. So you want to talk about Bidenomics? You want to talk about all these people out here that are Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Liberals, Progressive? I don't care what you are, conservative. The only reason why Trump may not get back into office is not because people are going to vote for Joe Biden or Obama or Michelle Obama or whoever. It's because they hate this man so much that when he got in office in 2016 and took everybody by surprise and everybody was laughing at him, they said, one way or another, after your term, we're going to get you and everybody associated with you until the end of time.
I agree with that.
And that's exactly what they've done.
Yes.
And it's kind of ironic,
and
Paul.
one point. Here's a point that you kind of probably didn't get to yet. He exposed them for what they are. And I believe it was Saddam Hussein who said, the way you beat a country like the United States is you take them down from within.
And that's what Putin said too, Roma. That's what Putin has said as well.
Yeah, and they're taking us down from within, and the American people don't even see it coming. And sad part is, it's going to be over. We're going to be slaves to whether it's China and Russia, or one or the other,
or the Middle East. The Middle East, because as we speak, Mr. Roma, and I hope you stay safe over there in Germany, as we speak, Iran is attacking thousands of drones that are flying into the Gaza area in Israel, and we're not supporting like we used to. I'm not going to get into all the history of Israel and Palestine and Gaza, but we have basically, like it said biblically, Mario, and you and I talked about this.
We do all the time.
They're turning their back on Israel. We are the whore of Babylon. Do your due diligence. Do your research.
No, I'm right on board with you, and you know, they really don't know what they're opening, what's about to happen. People don't see it. We lost faith, and that's the one thing that kept, you know, what we are and kept good people, and even stopped some bad people, is when they believed in God. And they're taking everything they possibly can out, and God being one of them, out of the system. You know, raising the kids to think at 6 years old, you get to choose what gender you are. There's, you know, this has to stop. And it's not going to stop with what's going on. And it's not going to stop with the ignorance of the American people. And I'm not talking about all American people. But they know.
You know what? Roma, you make it sound like Sodom and Gomorrah, and everything's got to be destroyed in order to rebuild it back.
Well, didn't it happen?
Yeah.
Didn't it really happen?
It's very true.
Every time a full circle, you know, it's okay. Now there's dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's evolution.
Right.
There's always something before it comes to us. You know, whether you believe or you don't believe in aliens, maybe that's where it started also. You know, they're a different form of people, and maybe that's what we're going to transform into. You know, a different form of people until it comes full circle again. But if this keeps up, there's not going to be a world to live in anyway.
You're
It's just not.
hitting the nail right on the head, Roma.
I got to tell you, Big Daddy showed me something that's so scary and inexplicable. In the ocean, nobody knows what it is, but it caused horrendous tidal waves.
At least that's what they're alleging. If anyone goes to, if you follow Mr. BBB or anything to do with the weather or the planet or anything that's going on right now with how the trends in weather have really changed from the moon to the sun to the eclipse, and what they saw in the Atlantic Ocean that registered 85-foot waves. It was registered. It was right there off the coast of Africa coming out of the Atlantic Ocean. And then it disappeared. It was on radar. It was picked up by everyone. And then it just disappears. Who knows what it is? And like in the chat right now, and thank you, Gabe, the OTS tribal queen hit the nail on the head when she said it's like Biden is a president that's like Weekend at Bernie's. I mean, what do we? It's the truth.
You know what? You know what, Big Daddy? I hope you put this on Tucker's on his Twitter and have him do a bit on Joe Biden just being like Weekend at Bernie. They just prop him up with the sunglasses.
That's what they're doing. They are propping him up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, okay, it's not. We know it's not him running the United States. He's not the president. And figuratively speaking, yeah, he's there. But you know, you have all these other people between Soros and Obama and Clinton. That's her only way of getting a hand to be president. She's got her hand in it, and they're in it deep, really deep. They'll do everything they can to take down this country. There's only one issue. This is the one thing I don't believe they truly understand. When you take down a country and you allow another country to take over, let's say it's China, Russia, both of them, do you think for 1 minute, you dumb assholes, that they are going to keep you alive so that you can take them down when given that opportunity? If you're going to turn your back on your own country, what makes you think they believe you're going to stay honest to them?
Mario?
It's not going to. You dumb bastards that you are.
Yeah. Gabe, do we have any questions?
I'm sure somebody has something to say. You know, we're together, Roman Nation, strong out there. Mancini's maniacs. I mean, somebody's got to say something.
They are maniacs. Thoughts on O.J. Simpson?
Thoughts on O.J. Simpson passing away, Roma?
Well, I was O.J. Simpson fan back in the day before I believe he murdered those innocent people. I will also say that it is not a loss to the planet Earth as far as I'm concerned.
All I can say, me personally, on TikTok, I put the passing of OJ in his picture, and I added Highway to Hell to it. So that's my answer.
My opinion is, if we talk just about on the field, I'll give the devil his due. As a person, obviously we know what he was all about and he was no good. The only thing O.J. Simpson should be remembered for is the death of those people. But I will say that to say this, and not because of him. Do you remember the old HBO series, First and 10?
I do.
That was tremendous.
Yeah.
Roma, did you watch that back in the 80s? First and 10?
I
did. Jethro!
I did watch it.
What do you got next, Gabe?
New Haven Pizza. Salvatore leaves us the drizzling shits. What's your opinion?
I think it is a Mancini maniac question. It's a Mancini maniac question. That Sal believes that New Haven pizza is the shits.
Well, Sal has his head up his ass.
Listen. I'm not going to be responsible for this guy's taste buds. You know what I mean?
Wait, all of New Haven pizza? Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
All of New Haven pizza? It's the best in the world.
Oh, Roma, I forgot to make a Mancini confession to you.
Oh boy.
Gigi and I went to Inferno and we annihilated it. It was excellent.
Thank you. I told you Inferno.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
You know,
what's it?
listen, Sal. here's the deal when it comes to that. Okay, how many people would put a bib on and sit there and eat twin monster lobsters and dip them in butter and just annihilate them? A lot of people, right? I do not eat roaches. I refuse to eat a cockroach. So I've never had a lobster in my life. So I think the lobsters are the shits. So everybody's entitled to it. Sal, go to Domino's, brother. What's the next question?
Oh, well, hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me address this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Roma, let me address this.
Go ahead.
First off, Sal, you had, like I said 30 seconds ago, you have your head up your ass. That's number one. Go to Portnoy Sports. Go to any entertainer or celebrity. Not that they're credible, but in this they are. Sally's, Pepe's, Modern, Roseland, Zupardi's, Abate's. The list goes on. In Inferno that we were just talking about.
Inferno, North Haven was tremendous.
Even right here, Nikki's Pizzeria. Right?
Yeah.
But I don't know what you guys are talking about. New
again.
Haven has been voted number one in the country year in and year out. Paul, can you help me out?
And
with this one?
Dave calls it the pizza capital of the world. So
whatever kind of pie you like, you can find it in New Haven.
Right.
So I don't know what he's eating, or maybe he's not eating it. Sal, are you wearing the pizza and it doesn't cover your body or something?
Right, he goes, Sal, maybe you're not eating the pizza. Roma said maybe you're wearing it on a part of your body that doesn't fit.
Listen, and I'm not meant to insult anyone here because this is Roma's show. Hey, Roma Nation.
It is Roma's
Mancini's
show.
Maniacs.
That's why the sign in back of us says, hey, Roma, because it's
I'm
his show.
assuming Sal, and him specifically, is probably like 3 pounds of lard stuffed into a 1 pound bag. If he's probably sitting there with a grinder and a bag of salt and vinegar chips and all over his stomach, and he thought he had 2 hairs until one of them pissed. I'm just saying, he used $20 worth of Clearasil before he found out it was his penis. I don't know if I can say that.
Hey, listen, we got to get to the next question.
What's the next
I'm
question?
just saying.
This is a Mancini Maniac question.
Okay.
Do you like chicken wings, and what is your favorite flavor?
Well, if you go on my TikTok, and you're more than welcome to go on TikTok, I was in South Carolina at a place called the Quaker Steak. Not to be confused with the oil Quaker State, it was called Quaker Steak.
Right.
And at Quaker Steak, they had a wing challenge with a scorpion venom pepper. And I did the challenge, and I got the T-shirt, and the bathroom was a hell of a trip there because that was a pretty hot pepper. But
needless to say, no one else could use it when you were done.
nobody else could use that bathroom when it was done. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of wings, and the hotter the better, really.
Speaking of wings, and I think we should take Sal and flush him down the toilet because he just called you, and Gabe slipped this to me. He just called you a doofus and said that Hey Roma is backwards. Hey Sal, do we have a flushing sound where we could flush this guy down the toilet?
I guess because of the camera, the Hey Roma's. I think people that at least graduated to 6th grade could figure that out. So what is the next question?
Sal, you're getting a big push here tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Johnny Rods used to say Steve Lombardi was the leather type. ... Thoughts?
Listen, I've said enough about Steve Lombardi. I've done a lot of podcasts on Steve Lombardi. In fact, I've done so much on Steve Lombardi when I reconnected with him after 30 years. It wasn't a happy meeting. There was a lot of heat there. A lot was said on my part to him. And I after I got everything off my chest, I shook his hand, and hopefully we're still friends. I did talk to him recently. So he does think he's Hulk Hogan. There's no doubt about it. So that's all I have to say about that. Next question.
Yeah, and I got a gag order so I can keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, right.
We'll take a couple more. That's all we got time for.
Rocco's in Guilford. Is that a pizza place? I haven't been to Rocco's in Guilford, but I used to live in Guilford. I lived in Guilford twice, two marriages, lived there twice. Once on Saddle Hill Drive, which is right over the Route 80 line there, and then I lived right next to Melissa Jones up in North Guilford, where I was called a hillbilly because you're not a real Guilfordite unless you live, south of Long Hill Road.
Hillbilly.
Yeah, because I was in North Guilford. I crossed Route 80, so I was a Guilford hillbilly.
Don't go messing with a country boy, man.
But listen, I will be more than happy to go to Rocco's. I love trying new pizza. I'm not supposed to eat pizza, but I would really like to go. I love trying new pizza places.
Roma, can I make this observation as I look at you on camera? Can I make this observation?
Did we lose Roma?
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
Roma, I'm going to say this. You're looking ripped, jacked, buffed, like shredded wheat. What are you doing over there? You hanging out with Otto Vons?
Yeah. Listen, they're treating you like a damn king here.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean everything's
right.
I'm in Hamburg.
Hamburg, rightfully so, Roma, because we need to make sure Roma's nation's happy, or else an army will go over there and make sure they are treating you like a king. Okay, what's the next question?
They're here, man. I was just at a restaurant having a nice meal, and Roma Nation's live here in Germany. I can't believe it.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Roma, what did you have for a meal over there in Germany?
I saw someone I thought was a Marvel maniac, but he was just a lunatic.
No, he told us he had chicken, he had salad.
Roma, Roma Nation wants to know what you had for dinner.
Roma Nation does not eat knockwurst or beans.
No. Listen, no, I went, they took us out to a nice Greek restaurant, believe it or not. Really good food. I mean, really good food. As I was saying, I thought, when I stepped outside that I saw, one of Mario Mancini's maniacs, but he was just a lunatic. There's a difference,
There is a
maniac.
difference. I have been to Archie Moore's. I love Archie Moore's. The thing about I've been disappointed in is Buffalo Wild Wings.
Who goes to Buffalo Wild Wings?
They went really downhill. Anyway, what's the next question?
Who was Paul's favorite opponent?
Who was Paul's favorite opponent?
Wow. Who's my favorite opponent?
Favorite person to work with in the ring?
Singles or tag?
Both singles and tag.
Okay, so tag match is easy. The Rockers, hands down.
The Rockers, hands down, for tag matches.
Yeah, that was easy. Singles? Woo! Single. I don't know.
Brett
was a lot of fun, but he is also good, when it came to tag matches.
Yeah.
The Hart Foundation.
Yeah.
There was also the Islanders, another great tag team.
Yep.
Let's see, the Orient Express, another good tag team.
Yeah,
those were all teams that were
nice.
As singles, probably take anybody out of those tag matches and work with them. They're all great.
Yeah.
Just that time. I think we got time for one more, right?
We got a question?
I guess this is one. Will there ever be an Alex Wright rematch?
No. There'll never be.
I'll
I'll answer that for Roma. No, there won't be an Alex Wright rematch.
Roma, the question
I
was...
don't believe so. I don't believe they could come up with the money to get me back in that ring.
Well, there's only one person that Roma wants to go back in the ring with, and that's Ric Flair. And he won't do it.
Well,
so I doubt Alex Wright.
Rick won't do it, number one. I like Alex. I expect to see him here at the show.
Nice.
But no, there's no reason for Alex and I to go back in the ring. I said my piece to him. He understands that it wasn't personal, so he doesn't take it to heart. He doesn't hold it against me. He gets it, and he did what, as he said, the respectful thing to do was to listen to the veteran, and that's what he did. He was just the wrong place, wrong time, wrong circumstance, and I don't think he holds a grudge. Not by the way we spoke to one another. So and again, he's a really good wrestler, and he's running his own shows now, and that's great.
Wow, Roma, he's running over there in Germany, Alex Wright.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, good stuff. Good for him. I think it's great, and I hope that he does show up. To the show. It'd be nice to see him.
That would be really nice to see him. You're right.
Yeah.
Now, Roma, I know there's questions coming in, but I have one question for you because I asked Mario earlier because I happened to see some of his videos recently, and you might have worked with him in WCW. Did you ever work with Scott Norton? Or any stories on Norton?
It doesn't ring a bell.
Really?
I'd have to see what he looks like.
Okay, he was in WCW for a while in the late 90s, NWO, and he was huge in Japan, Scott Norton. He was also in the movie Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone, a world champion arm wrestler as well. Norton was a beast, Roma. So it must have been a little bit later.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. And when you describe him, it really sounds familiar. But I can't say definitively yes. I have to see a picture of him.
Do we have anything else? Last question.
You had hey, Paul.
Hey, Roma.
You had
a match with Shane Douglas in the early 1990s where they ref. An older fella counted Shane down to the finish 2 times. Do you remember that? Did the ref just forget the finish?
You had a match with Shane. You heard that?
Yeah, so the fans may not have heard it. So the match with Shane Douglas, that was Madison Square Garden, I believe. And the ref went down for the count when he wasn't supposed to, and he did, and counted out, and we continued on. And I believe Shane said, hey, basically the match is over. And we were like, well, let's keep going, because that's not the finish. So we continued on, and the people were a little confused, to say the least. You could feel it in the crowd by and I say their actions, their tone. And then we finally went into what the finish was, and that was the end of it. And it was kind of like a half-ass, applaud from the crowd.
Right.
But yeah, I remember it. So listen, Sean, great worker.
Yeah, Douglas was a very solid worker, and of course, obviously, he teamed up with Chris Candido and Bam Bam Bigelow for the triple threat. So yeah, he was definitely a solid worker, a very outspoken the franchise, Shane Douglas.
Yeah, yes, he is. Shane is very outspoken, but he's the truth. I commend him for that. He's a no holds barred. He doesn't take any shit. Gets right to the point. I admire that about him. Not just his work, but who he is as a whole, as a person. So yeah, great guy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say we did not forget. Where Are They Now? We have changed the name from Where in the World Is to Where Are They Now, which makes more sense to me. So, Where Are They Now has to do with our military, active, war veterans. We did not get to Big Daddy's 25 years behind the wall, but as I will say, corrections officers, police officers, anybody who served, and you're looking for somebody that you've wondered about for years and you can't find, our general, if you will, when it comes to Where Are They Now, is Stephen Lee. And now that we figured out how to get Roma on here from Germany, certainly now Roma and now Stephen, we figured out a way to get you on this show, and we will have you on this show. A segment for you. And if anybody is wondering, you served in the military, and you said, hey, I've tried to get a hold of this person for 5 years and I can't locate him. Stephen Lee is on Facebook under Steve Lee. You can get a hold of him, and he's a Vietnam veteran. He is our general here at A Roma when it comes to our military, and you could say he's our figurehead when it comes to representing the military for our show, Hey Roma. I'd like to thank the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, who served
Thank you,
himself
Guardian. Thank you, Big
as a
Daddy.
corrections
Always
officer
back
for
up.
25 years. Paul Roma, Hey Roma, the host of the show himself, and all the way from Germany. And we need to really thank Roma, because it is 2:15 in Germany, and he hung with us because the show is that important to him. So he's got to get to bed now, and we thank everybody and your questions, good, bad, and ugly. And we will see you next week. Don't forget, stay safe, and please take care of one another. Until next Friday.
God bless.
God bless
Yeah.
you. We'll see you here on A Roma.
Shout out to Mario's Maniacs, and say it, Mancini. Give me one.
Roma Nation, baby.
Roma Nation, baby. That's it. I love that. Anyway, all right. And thank you very much again. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We love you. We appreciate